For your patience, today is Tuesday, September 9, 2025. I'm going to call to order the State of Rhode Island Coastal Resources Management Council semi-monthly meeting to order. I would ask first that the record reflect the council members that are present as well as staff members that are here. First matter on our agenda are approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, that meeting being July 22, 2025. I know Lisa had submitted them, and I think Ron, you have a correction.
Correction, please. Thank you. Yes. So number 7, Lightbulb, they have me marked as recused, but actually I participated in that application, and they voted aye for both the special exception and the application.
Okay, with that change, any other changes? All right, with that change, I'd entertain a motion to approve, please. Motion been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Subcommittee report.
No subcommittee reports tonight, Mr. Chair.
Staff report.
I have a couple items just to bring you up to speed on. At the end of July, staff participated in a training exercise with the Rhode Island Builders Association. It's something that we've done in the past, and we've restarted it, if you will. And it was a continuing education type training for the builders, where they're bringing in a lot of their newer members to get an understanding of the regulatory processes around the state, CRMC obviously being one of them. Went very well. It was a 3-hour training session that we held on Zoom. A lot of participation, a lot of good questions, and we've been asked to do it again as needed for the builders. So I just want to thank staff for participating in that. Also, at the end of August, at the invitation of Senator Whitehouse, we met with the Army Corps and the municipalities on trying to come up with potential projects that the senator can submit on behalf of Rhode Island in the Water Resource Development Act, which is an act of Congress every 2 years where they direct the Army Corps of Engineers to undertake certain projects across the nation. Obviously, the senator wants to make sure Rhode Island gets its fair share of projects forwarded to us. So we are helping identify potential projects that the Army Corps could participate in here in Rhode Island. For instance, federal navigation projects, or in particular, breakwater projects like you'd find in Point Judith or Wickford, or even in Secaucus. We will talk to the Corps about adding those as potential projects and then having the senator forward them through his committees and get them into the Word of Bill. The Kickemuit matter. We hear the remainder of the Kickemuit restoration matter at our next meeting in 2 weeks from now. As you remember, the council offered and granted Kickemuit an additional 30 days to submit a restoration plan to the staff so that we can find an acceptable solution to get a restoration plan going. Within those 30 days, Kickemuit submitted a plan about halfway through that was not acceptable. But since there was still time remaining, staff reached out to Kickemuit and said, why don't we meet, see if we can still work on this thing. There's time remaining in the 30 days. We did that. We met with the team at Kickemuit, staff did, and we did not receive a restoration plan at the end of those 30 days. I will tell you that after those 30 days and up until this past Friday, the Kickemuit team has been contacting staff to say, we're still working on something. We're getting folks on the field. We want to still comply. But they hadn't until Friday afternoon when they submitted a plan to us that staff is looking at right now. We will respond to that very shortly, but on its surface, it does not look like it meets the acceptable requirements that the council offered up at the last meeting that we had on the matter. Offshore wind. If you're following offshore wind issues in the paper, you'll notice that the federal administration is not too keen on moving projects forward, even those that have all their federal permits. That might beg the question, well, CRMC is in the process of reviewing South Coast wind. What are you going to do about it? We are moving forward with our staff review of the South Coast wind application. It's a Category B application to bring their export cable up the Secaucus River and then find its way up into Mount Hope Bay, as if we're still moving forward and there's no issues whatsoever with the federal government. regardless of what the federal government does, we will continue to do that until South Coast tells us otherwise. So in due course, the council will see the Category B application for South Coast cable export application in front of you sooner than later. And then lastly, while this is not a subcommittee report, the Rights of Way Subcommittee is having a meeting next Monday night, the 15th, at the Westerly Town Hall at 6 o'clock to have evidentiary hearings begin for the Spring Avenue extension matter that it's been meeting on for quite some time. And that is it, Mr. Chair.
Any questions of Director Willis from the council? All right, thank you. Now move to our applications. First one is an application requiring a special exception in or before the council for public hearing and action. First one being 2024-12-004, the Narragansett Electric Company. Do you have something to report, Mr. Willis?
Mr. Chair, if I may, the Narragansett Electric Company application was going to be presented tonight by staff. It received an objection from the Town of Warren's Conservation Commission. The Town of Warren is represented by legal counsel, DeSisto Law Associates, that also represents the CRMC. And in that particular matter, we can't have the same legal counsel representing both the agency as well as an objector. So because of that, and the Town of Warren was, as a town body, was not aware that its Conservation Commission had submitted this application, or else we could have worked it out ahead of time. We can't hear that matter tonight because of the conflict with legal counsel. So we will reschedule this matter for the September 23rd meeting. It'll be the first meeting, first agenda item on that meeting's calendar, and then we'll get Quidnesset right after that.
Okay.
And just to be clear, Mr. Willis, our firm will be filing a recusal form on that.
Thank you very much.
Do you need to vote on that to continue that, or
Yes.
we should?
Yeah.
All right. Based on the representation made by Director Willis, I would entertain a motion that we continue that matter to our next scheduled hearing date.
Motion to continue.
A motion is made by Ms. Reynolds, seconded by Mr. Gagnon. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll poll the council. Dr. Ruder?
Aye.
Mr. Flynn? Mr. Russolino?
Aye.
Mr. Gagnon?
Aye.
Ms. Reynolds?
Aye.
I too, Raymond Coy, vote aye. Thank you to that applicant. Thank you. Next matter are applications which have been out to notice and are before the council for review and action. First one being 2025-02-071 Water Street Landing Realty. It's an application for new marina certification and the establishment of a marina perimeter limit for existing marina located at 339 and 341A Water Street, Warren, Rhode Island. The applicant and their representatives present this evening. If so, come forward. Sit there. Who's got this for us, Jeff?
Mason.
Oh, you may send.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So with this application, we've got an applicant coming in for pre-existing marina. It's been in operation for the last 50 years based on aerial imagery. It's been in its current configuration for at least the last 25 years. They're requesting assent to convert a marina, establish their MPL. During the public notice period, there were a handful of comments from the northern butter. The majority of these comments were addressed with a series of revised drawings. The main one being to adjust the MPL, which now complies with a 10-foot offset off of the dock structures and eliminates the need for variance requests for that MPL offset. The butter also requested a stipulation be added that no warping outside the MPL will be allowed on the northern dock. That's due to the close proximity to their bulkhead. Staff waives reasonable requests, giving that close proximity to the butter seawall there. And finally, the butter was concerned with parking for the marina. The applicant developed a public access plan. They've also installed signage designating marina parking. Staff believes the applicants fully addressed northern butter's concerns, and the applicant's proposal complies with CRMP.
Any questions of Mr. Sherman from the council? All right, gentlemen, if you can identify. Oh, go ahead, Dr. Ruda.
there is two separate properties here. So the southernmost property, the northern dock there is in this site plan, but yet there's no further site plan for the rest of the property to the south, which is used as a partial marina facility. Shouldn't that be included in this perimeter? If they're going to consider this dock, their dock to the south, a separate plot.
You're referring to that southern.
The northern flow from the southern lot line. So there's a northern float, which is on the 13, 14, 21, 22. That would be in a separate property, isn't it?
Property line, looking at the drawing, it looks like it skirts along the southern limit of that MPL and that southern basin, correct?
Yeah.
So I mean, the whole marina basin is on the applicant's property line, no, or within the applicant's property.
Was that dock considered part of the north property or the south property?
The northern property.
It would be part of the north property. Okay. Even though the access is from the south property.
Yeah, so it's the same owner that owns the northern property and the southern property, and the owner of the southern property provided a letter stating that there'd be access, that dock is going cleared up parking as well, so saying there'd be adequate parking available.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of Mason from the council at this point? No? All right, could you gentlemen identify yourself for the record, please?
I'm John Kavanaugh, Director of Engineering for Blount Fine Foods, representing the marina.
Ron Blanchard, the engineer.
I'll go ahead and swear you in. Are you going to be providing testimony tonight? You may be speaking on the application.
We're just basically here to answer questions. We're gonna do a presentation or anything, but
Well, go ahead and swear. Please raise your right hands.
sure.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
And please state and spell your name for the record.
Don Kavanaugh, JOHN, CAVANAGH.
Ron Blanchard, BLANCHARD.
Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Kavanaugh or Mr. Blanchard from the council at this point? Is there anything you'd like to add, or would you be resting on the representations made by Mr. Sherman and your application that's been presented?
We would rest on his representation.
Okay. So we have before us the application. We've got the comments from Mr. Sherman. Is the council comfortable at this time to make a motion, or do you have questions of the applicant or our staff? Heather?
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Hold that, hold 1 second. That was my bad. Is there anyone else present this evening that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone present this evening that wishes to speak in opposition of the application?
I'm having a really hard time hearing you guys.
Okay,
I had a hearing test not that long ago.
oh, I will speak loud.
Well, all of you have to speak loud.
Okay.
Very baby like. There's no mic. I can't see anything that's on the board there. So, even though it's a previous motion, so how are we supposed to make an informed decision? If we can't see or hear what's even being discussed.
Because we're in a different room, stop myself if I say something and you don't hear me. I will absolutely repeat it. Come more closer if you need to. If any of the council members make a comment and you don't hear it, please raise your hand. We will certainly repeat it. If you have a question as to something that's on a board, one at a time, if you want to, come right up and walk up and you can take a peek at it. I want everyone to see everything that's happening here tonight, hear everything that's happening here tonight. So to repeat the question that I asked, the first one was, is there anyone else present this evening to speak in favor of the application? And would there be anyone to speak in opposition of the application? And if anyone's not sure their position, because they want to come up and take a peek at the evidence, certainly come up.
No, this isn't gonna be enough. Oh, no, I think I'm okay.
Okay. Okay, with that, is the council in a posture for a motion?
So moved.
A motion has been made to approve.
Yeah, to approve.
And Dr. Reuter, is that based on the staff report?
Based on staff plans.
And does it include the staff specific stipulations of the
Correct.
staff report?
A motion to approve with those comments has been made by Dr. Reuter. Is there a second?
Second,
Motion, a second has been made by Mr. Gagnon. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will poll the council. Dr. Reuter,
Aye.
Mr. Flynn, Mr. Russolino, Mr. Gagnon, Ms. Reynolds.
Aye.
I too, Raymond Poyer, vote aye. The application is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, I think. Really? Next matter is Harbor Realty. It's an application to reconfigure the existing fixed pier configuration, installation of new floating docks, and establish a new marina perimeter limit. To see our attached plan drawings for existing and proposed configurations. The previous CRMC assent for a new marina was 1987-11-039. It is located at Plat 32, lots 155 and 268 at Waits Wharf in Newport, Rhode Island. And Mason, you have this one as well?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
If you could please report.
Yes, sir. So as you said, the applicant's coming in, requesting consent to expand their MPL, reconfigure their fixed pier floating dock layout. Current configuration, staff's opinion, and others restricts navigation within the marina basin. And the proposal increases fairway distances, compliant with CRMC regs, and increases the overall navigational safety in the marina basin. During the public notice, a letter of support was provided by the city, Newport Waterfront Commission, and the Harbor Master. A condition of the city and the Newport Waterfront Commission's approval was for the applicant to include and maintain public transit landing for ferries and shuttles, install kayak rack and launch at the West Extension Street public access, rehab of the access to the West Extension Street dinghy dock. These requests are shown on the applicant proposed plans and was planning on to include stipulations as well, which are in my staff report. Objections did come in from a resident requesting hearing and Southern Butter, Coddington's Landing Condominium Association. The applicant's original plan had the MPL on the southern side of the facility, 30 feet off the dock, which matched the riparian line. Coddington's did object to this, and the applicant presented a revised set of plans which meet the CRMC standard 10-foot off all structures to address this concern. This also eliminated the need for a variance request for the 10-foot offset. Coddington's also raised concerns that vessels docked on the applicant's southern dock within the marina's shared fairway are restricting access. In response to this, the applicant provided a letter from the harbor master, essentially stating that the proposed configuration rectifies unsafe conditions in the marina's interior. They're in favor of the proposal. In their opinion, the shared fairway provides sufficient, safe, and navigable travel for all vessels utilizing the two marinas. And staff has spoken to the harbor master recently, who still stands by this letter. And he's the one out there on a daily basis enforcing safety in Newport and addressing concerns and complaints. And in staff's opinion, proposal complies with CRMP.
And the staff's recommendation is approval as indicated on our worksheet. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And is that taken into consideration, the review of the objections and comments from Harbor Master and anyone else that made comments as it relates to the application?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Sherman from the council?
I have a question.
Yes.
Have you
Mr. Flynn.
received the letter I believe you've been waiting for from RIHPHC?
Yes, sir, we did receive it on the 26th of August.
Okay, so that has been received, no objection, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The applicant's here, Mr. Scott, if you want to introduce them and yourself for the record, please, and our attorney can swear them in.
Ernest Scott, I represent the applicant. This matter I have with me, Neil Higajami, sorry, who's is the main mover and main writer of this, and Josh Rosenberg, who's the engineer. We're here to answer any questions. We stand by the staff report. This has been through the city we went to the city first and to the waterfront commission. They made some changes and requested changes. We made those. And we're happy with the staff report and the conditions in the staff report. We're here to we provide testimony as you deem necessary.
Thank you. In that a question may be asked, why don't we just swear in the two gentlemen?
Gentlemen, will you please raise your right hands? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And will you each please state and spell your name for the record?
Neil Hingorani, Neal, last name is Hingorany.
Joshua Rosenberg, Joshua Rossenberg.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of, I'm gonna do it easy, Neil or Joshua from the council? Not at this point. Okay. Is there anyone present this evening that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone present this evening that wishes to speak in opposition of the application? Come forward, please.
May I stand here or table? Any preference on this?
There is, well, let's put it over here, please, because of the stenographer. Yes, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director, and members of the council. Attorney Matthew Landry from the Office of Bush and Kavanaugh on behalf of the Coddington Landing Condominium Association. I did submit a letter of opposition to the record back in March of this year. And I don't want to reiterate all the material that I had already submitted. I'd like to just give a high-level overview of what the basic objection is. While at the same time, I'd like to commend your staff, especially Mr. Sherman, for the open communication and dialogue that we've had. We've received very easy communication with the staff, easy responses to all of our questions. So I just wanted to note that for the record that I do appreciate that. Our objection outlined basically two specific points. One was the lack of a request to modify the MPL to the southern portion of the marina within the 10 feet that's required. That has since been addressed by the applicant, and I do appreciate that. I think it was necessary to look at the marina as a whole and adjust the MPL to conform to the existing regulations for the marina. To that end, I think that the council should look at the marina as a whole. Even though the majority of the modifications occurring with this application involve the interior limits of the marina, particularly the areas to the north, not necessarily to the south. As I understand it, this is a good opportunity to look at any safety concerns, the design of the marina, and how it has been used historically. The Coddington Landing Condo Association Marina is located just to the south, and it's about 50 feet from dock to dock. The property line extension is roughly 30 feet between the wharf to the north. The marina structure is about 30 feet separated from the property line extension. We understand that the harbor master has been contacted as to any safety issues and concerns. The objection that we submitted back in March included a number of photographs showing a number of vessels over 100 feet, sometimes up to 200 feet in length, with beam widths exceeding almost 30 feet. So it goes up almost directly to the property line extension of the marina, leaving only about 20 feet or so between the Coddington Marina structure and the nearest vessel with the fenders sticking out. And ironically, before the last hearing and within the last 2 weeks, there have been several instances of vessels of that size, about 30 feet wide, right up to the property line, that my clients have notified the harbor master. I understand he went out, addressed it, and had those vessels tied tighter to the marina, or even agreed that there were issues or could be concerns with access and travel lane safety in between the two marinas. Now, this isn't an everyday occurrence. We acknowledge that, but we do believe this is an opportunity to review what's going on the southerly side of that marina and impose a reasonable restriction on beam widths. I think the average beam width for vessels parked along the outer perimeter of this marina are between 20 and 25 feet. You know, they can be all different lengths. I think it's really the width that my clients are concerned with. Another instance, one of the photographs we submitted, there was actually an anchor in the middle of my client's marina during storm activity, obstructing the entire travel way between the two marinas. Again, that's not an everyday occurrence, but it's hard to police this on an everyday basis. The harbor master's got a lot going on. We think a reasonable restriction as to beam width is more than reasonable and consistent with the size vessels that have been there historically. There are other locations to the westerly side, the outer edge of the marina where these larger vessels could park and not restrict this access way. I have reached out to the applicant and the applicant's counsel and requested a reasonable condition of no more than 25 feet for beam width. That was respectfully rejected. The response was that they're going to continue parking vessels as they always have in that area. The regulations do state that vessels can be berthed outside the MPL if, in the opinion of the executive director, those vessels do not impact safety or navigation or other interests in the area. We believe vessels exceeding that 25-foot beam width do create a hazard and do create issues. And it's better to get ahead of it at this stage before it gets approved and we have to wait for an accident to happen. A restriction in place of this nature would allow the applicant to continue doing what he's doing, still berth vessels in that area, but anything over 25 feet is far excessive. It will go right up to the property line, almost double the width of what the extension is between the dock and the property line. So with that, council, I respectfully request that a reasonable condition be imposed. Vessels no larger or wider than 25 feet. We think that would help address these safety concerns. And any other concerns that we had have been addressed by the applicant already. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Anyone else wishes to speak in opposition of it? Attorney Scott, if you'd like to come forward and address what's been raised, please.
First of all, I'd like to, it's the marina, Coddington Marina has a long history with this council. They originally had a CRMC approval that placed their marina 15 feet, 20 feet further to the south. They built it they built it where it is now, and then they were required they weren't allowed to have vessels along their southern access point, or southern docks. So they created their own hardship here, number one. Number two is, it's interesting because they don't have any right in necessarily to go in our property. We have a property line there that we don't exceed. We have a vessel and we have vessels in there. And so it's interesting that Mr. Landry indicated that it only happens in storm activities, basically. And what he's complaining about were storm activities, and the vessels were being blown off. We secured them up, or the applicants secured them up as best they could. We don't believe, first of all, we're not here for the south side, we're here for the north side. And we have the harbor master, though, we have the waterfront commission has looked at this, has reviewed it thoroughly. The waterfront commission has reviewed it three meetings. Went to the planning board, with the city council. We don't think a restriction is necessary. We think it's safe as it is now. This application doesn't require any changes to the southern side of our of the dock. It remains exactly as it is. And docks in Newport, they coordinate with each other, they talk to each other. And we always respond. If they have a complaint, we respond right away. If we have a complaint, they seem to respond. And the vessels that are in there are not big vessels, so they can easily maneuver in and out of their marina without, even if we have a boat that's up to our property line. So I don't think it's, first of all, it's not on the agenda. We're talking about the north side, we're not talking about the south side. And I would think that it's unreasonable for the council to put a restriction on here when we really haven't had any problems, haven't had any accidents. There's been no complaints except during the storm events when those vessels aren't going out anyway. Those vessels from the Cottington Marina are not going out. And that north side, or the south side, depending on the wind, where a large vessel would berth, that's the most protected area for that vessel. So it's better to put it at that location so it's protected, face out so that vessel can get out as quick as it can. I don't believe that a restriction is necessary. I think it's the Cottington has been a constant objector to everything that the owner of this marina has done on land and in the water. And I think this is just one more example of the Cottington complaining when there really isn't a problem. So I'd ask that the council not put any restrictions on. I don't think it's necessary.
Any questions of Attorney Scott from the council?
Looking at the site plan, where is the kayak? Watch site?
It's way up on the north side, way inside on at the end of the right of way.
Okay, so not on the south side?
No.
Okay, I thought I reviewed them. The other question is, in reference to the complaint, there was question of a mooring line that extended over through the fairway.
Right.
For the other marina, correct?
It was into the fairway. It was it went over, just over the property line extension. When we found out about it, it was removed immediately.
Okay, but it did extend it.
It did extend just beyond the property line extension.
So you made a couple statements about vessels getting out in emergency situations pointed out, so I assume that they're gonna be pointing west, correct? The bow will be pointing west?
Yes.
So their mooring lines are there, they are restricting the other marina from leaving with the same conditions. Your argument was that boats are not going out in storm conditions. But if your mooring line extends over their fairway, now they can't come out. So
that was one incident of it. It was corrected.
I'm just questioning because you brought it up in your rebuttal, so.
Question.
Yes, Mr.
If
Flynn.
there were a restriction on the width of a boat, who would enforce that?
The CRMC staff, basically. Or
So
enforcement.
You would expect CRMC staff to be out there measuring boats
No.
in a storm event?
No, I'd expect my client to observe the ability of the next door marina to be able to get in and out. And if they had a complaint, us to be able to talk about it and remedy that complaint. I wouldn't expect CRMC to come down and do it, but I would expect.
The harbor master wouldn't do it?
The harbor master would come and tell us that we are restricting the fairway. He would, yes.
All right. Thank you.
And we've had considerable discussions with the harbor master about it. He's been on site. He and his officer on site for the kayak rack, helped design it. Their staff helped design it, and with any travel on the southern part.
Any further questions? I have one of Mason. Mr. Sherman, based upon the representations made and the arguments made tonight, does your recommendation of approval change?
No, Mr. Chair.
Is the staff, is the council in a posture for a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve based on the staff recommendation and the stipulations of approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Flynn, seconded by Mr. Russolino. Any discussion?
Like to just say that I think that the objections have been adequately addressed by the applicant through revised plan drawings and confirmation from the Newport Harbor Master of Vessel Safety and adjacent fairways.
Thank you. With that, I will poll the council. Dr. Ruder.
Aye.
Mr. Flynn.
Aye.
Mr. Russolino.
Aye.
Mr. Gagnon.
Aye.
Ms. Reynolds.
Mr. Chair, I abstain.
All right. And I, Raymond Coyer, vote aye. Application is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next matter on the agenda is Rhode Island Commerce Corporation 2025-05-029. It's an application to expand a portion of the existing structural perimeter limit on the north side of Pier 1 and construct a stern offloading ramp. The ramp would be utilized to accommodate stern door roll-on / roll-off vessels within the port of Davisville. It's located at Plat 193. Lot 26, 2574 Davisville Road, North Kingston, Rhode Island. And the applicant and parties are present here, and Mason Sherman has this one as well.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I mean, what you just said really sums it up. The new ramp will allow the port to expand their existing business by accommodating cargo ships with stern offloading ramps, so it's good for blue infrastructure in the state. QDC's goal is to construct this ramp in conjunction with upcoming maintenance and improvements to Pier 1, which have already been permitted. During the public notice period, the only comment that they received was a letter of no objection to the town of North Kingstown, and staff hates the applicant proposal, applies for the CRMP, recommends approval.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Sherman from the council at this point? Gentlemen, if you could introduce yourself for the record, please.
Certainly. My name is Greg Corin. I'm the Director of Engineering and Construction for Quonset Development Corporation. It's GREGCOREN.
I'm Christian Jones. I'm the Port Project Manager for Special Port Projects at the Quonset Development Corporation. My name is CHRISTIANJONES.
Anything you wish to add to what's been said so far?
No, I believe the staff report presented by Mr. Sherman is adequately represents the project.
Any questions of Mr. Corin or Mr. Jones from the council? Is there anyone else present this evening that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone present this evening that wishes to speak in opposition of the application? I let the record reflect no one came forth on either one. Either of my questions. Is the council in a posture to make a motion on this matter based on comments of Mr. Sherman as well as the application and all of its comments?
Mr. Chair, based on the findings as presented in the staff report and the representations and presentations made at the meeting, I make a motion to approve the petition.
A motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Ms. Reynolds, seconded by Mr. Gagnon. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will poll the council. Dr. Ruder?
Aye.
Mr. Flynn?
Aye.
Mr. Russolino?
Aye.
Mr. Gagnon?
Aye.
Ms. Reynolds?
Aye.
I too, Raymond Coyer, vote aye. Application is Approved unanimously. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, no, but. Sorry.
That's okay. Next matter is Quonset Development Corporation. It's an application of bearing number 2025-06-055. It's an application to perform dredging of the Rhode Island Fast Ferry Basin with upland disposal of dredged material at parcel 7A within the Quonset Business Park. It's located in the Quonset Fast Ferry Basin, 1347 Roger Williams Way, North Kingston, Rhode Island. The waterway is the Quonset Narragansett Bay. Gentlemen, you're here on this one as well?
We are
Once again, just identify yourself for the record.
certainly Greg Corin, Quonset Development Corporation.
Christian Jones, Quonset Development Corporation.
And Mason Sherman has this one as well for staff, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
All right, if you could report, please.
Yes, sir. So as you said, the applicant's requesting consent to perform maintenance dredging within the Fast Ferry Basin, beneficial use of the dredge material, the upland parcel 7A on the Quonset Business Park. QDC does have plans to cap this parcel in the coming years as part of ongoing improvements and operations within the business park. The Army Corps has granted their approval through Rhode Island General Permit 7. DEM is in the process of reviewing their draft permit and currently waiting on feedback from EPA. The project with similar scope was approved administratively back in 2018, but the work was never performed. The main difference with this project is disposal is now upland rather than being offshore, and there was an objector. And that's why it's here, council. During the comment period, Town of North Kingstown provided a letter of no objection. And then a butter to parcel 7A, as I mentioned, submitted objections with concerns about the project. I'd like to just go through those 4 main concerns in a letter and just talk about how the applicant has addressed them and stipulations we would plan to impose upon approval. That's okay, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
So the first concern was regarding implications for water quality in Narragansett Bay. Staff feels this is addressed by dredging during the standard time of year window, as well as implementing a turbidity current at the entrance to the basin, which is laid out on the applicant's plans. The second concern was regarding disturbance of contaminated sediment. So 8 samples were collected at the dredge area, and all but 1 passed the commercial disposal criteria for parcel 7A site. 1 sample that didn't pass was due to a slight exceedance of 1 analyte. As I said, DEM and EPA are in the process of reviewing as well, looking at these things. Recreational and ecological impacts near the bike path and shoreline was the third concern. No impacts to shoreline are anticipated with the turbidity curtains being in place. In addition, swales will be dug as necessary to divert all water from the drainage area, or sorry, the dewatering area back into the basin. So all the water is going directly back to where it came from. Best management practices for controlling dust will be utilized. There is also an existing 9-foot berm with established vegetation in between the parcel and the bike path in question. And CRMC will be going out and performing inspections, and will be implementing additional turbidity controls as needed, following up on site inspections. And the fourth and final concern was relating to airborne dust or runoff during dredging or dewatering. As mentioned, drainage swales will be utilized at the dewatering site to divert all water back into the basin. Then best management practices will be utilized to control airborne dust, both in the dewatering site and parcel 7A. For example, core logs, silt fencing, using water sprinklers to dampen the material, and then finally covering the material with a cap further down the line as part of QDC's long-term plans. With the controls mentioned being stipulated in the assent, if the council wishes to approve, staff believes the applicant's proposal complies with the CRMP.
Any questions of Mr. Sherman from the council at this time? Mr. Flynn?
Once the material is dewatered and moved to the disposal site, how deep, how many inches deep would it be? I didn't see any reference to that.
Yeah, they're planning on spreading out a foot thick of that parcel of 7A.
A foot thick. Were any other parcels evaluated for potential disposal? Because this parcel is about as close to a residential property as you can find, I think, at Quonset.
That's
Were
not,
any other parcels?
I'm not sure about that. Greg, you might be able to answer.
Before you answer, I can go ahead and swear you in now.
Absolutely.
Will you both please raise your right hands? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And just please once more identify, just to say your name on the record.
Certainly, Gregory J. Gorin with Quonset Development Corporation.
Christian Jones with Quonset Development Corporation.
Thank you.
Certainly. So, Mr. Flynn, I think I can address that question. So as you are probably aware, Quonset Development Quonset Business Park is running out of space. We are very rapidly closing that our development partner. And in this particular case, parcel 7A is slated for potential future development of some sort. You know, our whole mantra down at Quonset Business Park is to create pad-ready sites. And in this case, this site is about a foot to 2 feet lower than the surrounding area, so it would have to be raised regardless. And this is one of the only remaining sites where we have both space and a need for soil infill to, to fulfill our mission to create commerce in the business park.
So you're saying that in order to develop the site, it would need fill either from this action or from some other source?
That's correct. Mr. Flynn.
It could not be developed without that?
No.
Okay. And how many other sites are there like this in Quonset? I mean, you have sites that are currently used, but could be used for other things, like instead of parking cars, you could park cars somewhere else and develop those sites.
Well, to an extent. So all of the parking areas that we have in the port are leased properties. So we don't have the ability or authority to simply ask our lease tenants to move those cars to another location. Alternatively, in this particular case, this site would probably be one of those alternative locations to park. And we would have to go and demolish already established parking area to put fill in where we don't currently need it and then repave it. So in this particular case, off the top of my head, I can't think of other sites out of the North Davisville district of Quonset Business Park that are able to be developed in the future and also have a need for, at least a foot of fill over several acres of area.
How many acres? I was going to ask that question.
I
How
believe
large
that
is the site?
the site we're filling is about 6 acres. Yeah. And that's part of a larger, about 18, 20 acre area.
Sorry, it's part of what, larger what?
It's part of a larger 16 to 20 acre area of North Davisville that is one of the last areas to be developed.
Thank you. Appreciate those answers.
Of course.
Any further questions from the council at this time? Anything else to add, gentlemen, at this time?
Not at this time, Chairman.
Okay. Is there anyone else present this evening that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone present this evening that wishes to speak in opposition of the application? All right, please come forward. You guys can come forward if you want and come right over here, so you can kind of be next in line. Okay. Good evening. Could you identify yourself for the record, please?
Sure, my name is Mary Shaw, And I live at 159 Candlewood Drive in North Kingstown, which is directly, believe I'm the resident that can be as close as possible to site 7A.
Okay. What do you wish to say?
I've been in my home for 27 years. We bought it because we had Dobermans and other dogs. It's part of the Carriage Hill Association. I happen to be the president of the 21 Homeowners Association with that site. And I have a long history of QDC performing activity close to my home and back of my home without notification. I have a copy of a letter from the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management that's addressed to Stephen King, that advises Stephen King that if he performs activities under the guise of maintenance, they do not have to notify the abutters of their activities or planned activities. So without any notification, we all of a sudden hit a bicycle path in our backyard. It took 9 months and Stephen King agreed to build a stockade fence next to the bicycle path, which used to be the perimeter road for security around Quonset Point. They did put up a stockade fence. I was very concerned because I have an in-ground pool on that side, and I have young grandgirls coming into the pool. So in a short time after the stockade fence was built, and the back on the facing the bay side was etched into the stockade fence, I, heart, love big titties. Well, I can kind of laugh and say, looking at the wrong house. So I contacted everybody. They scratched it out and made the stockade fence longer and higher. I had 4 diesel generators 80 feet from my house to generate electricity to light 4 lights that were equivalent to the lights you might see in Fenway Park to protect the cars that are already parked there by NORAD. My only defense was noise ordinance. So I was on speed dial to the North Kingstown Police about hearing all the noise, 10 o'clock and beyond, of the cars being loaded, the trailers being loaded, the banging, all that noise. And I could actually see the police as they would go and say, you're violating the town's ordinance. So QDC decided to get around that. They would build a berm 80 feet from my house. They actually had a surveyor come to my back deck, and they realized how high they needed the berm to be built behind my house. I had a dog in August. Now, QDC is constantly saying there is no health hazard to this fugitive dust. And I'm reading all about fugitive dust that goes for miles. And about 2016, we discovered before the stockade fence, there were 40 mounds of dirt, 2 and 3 stories high, 80 feet from my house. I had a job where I traveled. My husband did not wear his hearing aids. We did not know that if you look on Google Earth about 2016, you're going to see what looks like skiing moguls. And there were 40 mounds of dirt, again, 2 and 3 stories high. How many truckloads of dirt and the platform that has to be made to make dirt? I was advised the dirt wasn't harmful. It was appropriate for industrial purposes. At the same time, my husband started to develop signs of COPD. He died November 12, 22, of severe scarring of his lungs. He had cancer in his upper lung and metastasized to his brain, and he had a hemorrhage. But we were being told everything here is safe. Rhode Island Hospital did an autopsy on him, and 2 doctors called me as a result of the autopsy. And they told me that I needed to start monitoring my pulmonary functions. QDC, in a meeting, they don't, I found, they don't have to let you in. And even if you go in, they don't have to answer your questions. They can deny your entrance. So we wanted to go in, we were ushered out. Well, it turned out the discussion was building this berm that we were going to love in the back of our house. So to perform this barrier so we could no longer see, my house is the only house that has direct access to the bike. So Pat, my house is the only house that could see the activity that QDC was doing. Because QDC had knocked down all the foliage, all the trees that were in lots of planning agendas to act as a buffer between the residents and the base. So the solution was build this huge berm. How many truckloads of dirt do you have to make this berm that is now being used as a quote barrier? How much dirt is that going to be? In spite of doctors sending letters to Stephen King saying this gentleman cannot be exposed to dirt. No problem. But then explain to me why in August I have a dog being rushed to Ocean State because she has pneumonia and strep throat. I don't know if anybody else here has ever had a dog in August developing for unknown reasons strep throat and pneumonia. In September, my other dog, one of my other dogs, develops a severe infection in his thorax, multiple weeks of high-level antibiotics to save him. Unknown origin. Well, it's pretty simple to say these dogs love to be outside and they were smelling and exposed to this fugitive dust and all the other chemicals that were being, but see, we didn't have to be notified because everything was under maintenance. So I am now finally kind of given up because Frank Mancini, the president of the North Kingstown Town Council, said, Mary, you are fighting an impossible battle. You are fighting $1 million and possibly billions of dollars of special interests. Get a lawyer. Couldn't get a lawyer, you say Navy, you say QDC. No one, I even tried contacting Aaron Brockovich. Too small. So any military has used to collateral damage. I believe my husband and I are collateral damage. The whole thing is to make the port as productive as possible financially. David Barney from the Navy used to tell me that. I wanted them just to buy my house so I could get out. How can I sell this house to somebody? So he died. I kind of made peace with it. And then I get a letter from the Rhode Island Coastal Council, sponsored by Rhode Island DEM. Obviously, because it's history, do you think I trust these people? That all this stuff is going to be saved. It's being piled. People forget that Quonset Point is a super fund. That's all kind of being buried. It's still a super fund. So not only are they not failing to remediate the pollution on 7A, their attitude is already polluted. So let's put the dredging from the port on top of 7A. And this great berm that is now covered, all right, let that act as a barrier. And when you say, you know, to your best guess or whatever, there isn't going to be any dust, who are you kidding? There's no, and never have been, all the testing has been up to the edge of the bicycle path. It doesn't matter that my house is 80 feet from the bicycle path. No studies are being done how this affects the health of the residents. None. So those are just some of the reasons I object. I have no credibility. QDC and Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management have proved time and time again that they are deceitful. They had surveyors, they had a gentleman come over and tell me, we're almost done. I said, what's that noise? We're almost done, Mrs. Shaw. They're sifting the dirt of the 40 mounds of dirt, 2 and 3 stories high, 80 feet from my house. You can't tell me there's no dust. There's no dirt. I saw it. Our house looked like the Dust Bowls of the 1930s. So instead of resolving 7A, you're saying, well, maybe we can do something about it by making it higher. And we'll cap it. Well, you guys are not you. My apologies, council, but QDC and the Navy has not even addressed this huge plume of poisonous that's going to go into Narragansett Bay. Because they don't know if it's going to happen in 15 years. They're going to don't know if it's going to happen in 25 years. So the history is, I look at QDC, I've been told, shocked me, that 7A and the port is no longer owned by the Navy. I often felt a little bit comfort that maybe by being owned by the Navy, there might be a little bit of overseeing. Oh, so again, I've been told I'm fighting an impossible battle. All right, but dogs have been, you know, seriously affected. My husband dies, and I'm being told by top doctors at Rhode Island Hospital that I needed to start testing my pulmonary function. And my husband's pulmonary doctor would say, Bruce, you can walk, but don't walk around your house. So imagine being tethered on a 100-foot plastic tube in your house because your breathing is so bad that the canisters don't work. And my comfort to my husband's death was I didn't have to see him suffocate. Instead, his brain blew out and he died within 48 hours. And I'm supposed to celebrate that? And my current dogs want to go outside? I have an identical twin who has refused to come to my house. She lives in Saratoga Springs, New York. Ever since this started, I don't even open my pool up. What's the point of opening my pool up and all this junk is going to be in it? All right, so it's affected. It's killed my husband. It could easily kill me. I don't use my pool. I have this great berm in the back of my yard, and you're now celebrating the berm that was made to be used as a barrier. For what? I'm putting a cap on it? What does that mean? What's going to happen with all those loads? Yes, you're saying it's wet. All right, but again, they have no credibility. And I have the results. I have years of emails, and I've done everything. And my spirituality is such, and I've told this to Stephen King, I've mentioned this at RAD meetings, which are the meetings for the environmental month or yearly results of the pollution, that I don't have to be vindictive because they will be judged by God. Thank you for listening.
You're welcome. Any questions of Ms. Shaw from the council?
Yes, you mentioned that the berm is now completely vegetated.
Yes.
Okay, so there's no current dust issue from the berm.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, but the site A still, at one point, there was a discussion of site A being covered in asphalt. Because the asphalt would keep down the pollution, because from what I could tell, the worry was the drivers from NORAD were getting exposed to the contaminants as they were moving, and dust was running around in the car. They were, and my attitude was, what about the other employees at QDC? So here, 7A is next to the bicycle path. And you're saying you again are going to invite the public, little kids, babies being pushed. That bicycle path is incredible. And I currently have a gentleman living at my house who came to the original meeting 2 weeks ago. He was horrified. Like, you think I want to live in your house with all this activity going on? But we're supposed to believe that there's no residual damage. But the damage is already being done, and you want to compile it? And the only hope I have is, and I tell everyone, I'm 77, and my grandmother lived to be 103. So I am intentionally not going anywhere. All right. And all I want is Stephen Kingwood to do is buy my house and use it as a buffer to Quonset Point, but that would set a precedent. So all I can do, and I laughed when they said, oh, they wanted to asphalt, and I'm thinking, you know what hot asphalt smells like? What hot asphalt smells like if you're, go to the store, you know, all those vapors. But you killed my husband, right? And now you're trying to kill me. And you don't worry about it because 20 years from now, 10 years from now, 25 years, you'll be gone, you'll be retired, all right? But not cleaning up 7A and dumping more dirt. I was told that one of the problems with putting asphalt was might only be good for 5 years. And the previous EPA for the East Coast has been at my house. She's walked the site, and her last, because I figured she retired, she said in a little voice, well, folks, I do want you to know I wrote a letter to the town council because she knew she wasn't going to get any repercussions because she was retiring, warning the town council, heads up, guys, whether you like it or not, there is no plans. And this incredibly poisonous plume is heading towards the bay. And this gentleman that I mentioned, he's an avid fisherman. All right. He works at EB. As he said to me today, he had to work today, so he couldn't come. Why would I want to eat any fish coming out of Narragansett waters? There's such a documented record of the pollution that the Navy has caused. And David Barney personally told me I have to stay in my lane, Mary, but the goal is to have the Navy extract itself and give to QDC as much as the land to them as possible. But we will be responsible for the pollution forever. So again, you're listing all these chemicals, but it's going to be okay, Mary. You got to believe us. And we're only going to kind of pile more dirt on it. No, I'd like to know, tell how many tonnage are you talking about? How many tonnage of dirt are you talking about? And what about, so what, you're going to put some stones and something on top of it? How long is that going to last? But at the same time, nothing is being done by this incredible, really toxic. But I don't want to have to wear a breathing mask. I don't want to have to relocate all my dogs. So QDC and the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management has no credibility because they're coaching QDC how to keep the abutters. And the only thing I can do is thank the Rhode Island Coast Council. If you were the ones that initiated the fact that maybe we should let the abutters know about this, I never would have known that this activity was happening. So thank you.
Okay. How are you?
Good time, everyone. Hello,
If you could just identify yourself for the record, please.
my name is Jennifer Sherman Bach. Bach, B-A-C-H. I'm speaking today as a board member. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. So I'm speaking today as a board member of the Foundation for Bioethics and Technology. And I want to be very clear about this proposal, what this proposal represents. A biological burden being placed on a neighborhood without due process. It is not a cleanup, it's containment, and it's happening without informed consent. We're talking about known toxic material being deposited at the site where people have already suffered harm. We're talking about a public hearing notice that arrived one day before the meeting. We're talking about federal brownfield funds, Department of Defense interests, and a long history of polluted military infrastructure being repackaged as economic development. How many more times do these families have to show up to stop bad decisions? The Foundation of Bioethics and Technology urges the council treat this as more than the procedural box to check. Site 7A is not an invisible space. It's a site of accumulated trauma, and you have a duty not to add to it. And one of the major things that we keep talking about is we talk about dirt and dust, and that's fine. What is in that dirt and dust? So we can say a lot here, but what are the studies on this dirt or whatever is wants to be transferred and dumped to this current location, to the location it's being planned? Like, what is the chemical makeup of the soil? And so that's just that would be the first question. To see, okay, what do we do with this? Is this safe to do to Rhode Island residents? It's one thing, it's up against someone's house, and it's also, there's access, it's family access, public access. So it's definitely a consent issue because the public does not consent as they're going onto the bike path. They have no way to know. Thank you.
Welcome. Any questions of Ms. Sherman Bach?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Rachel McIntosh, Rachel L. McIntosh. I'm in East Greenwich, Rhode Island, and I'm the founder and director, the chief executive officer of the Foundation for Bioethics and Technology. And I'm going to read my statement, okay? Good evening. I represent the Foundation for Bioethics and Technology, and tonight I want to speak directly to the issues of process, public trust, and harm. Originally, the foundation was contacted about a proposed cell phone tower. Thankfully, Verizon presentation at the third Zoning Board of Appeals meeting was so grossly inaccurate that the project ultimately moved. And this was much to the relief of everyone and Mary Shaw's Homeowners Association. So that's how I know her. We got called in because of that cell phone tower. We're here again tonight because of a dredging and disposal operation was being proposed on site 7A, a site already burdened with harmful contamination, including PFAS, whatever that means, and a host of other toxins, which it has been tested for. And I believe Mason said one of which they're still trying to figure out how bad it really is. It's just a little bit. Well, anyhow, this stuff is still leaching into the bay. This site directly borders Mary Shaw's long-established residential community, where homeowners have deeply invested in their properties, their neighborhood, and their town. And yet, once again, they only received 24-hour notice for this hearing. It was just the last meeting had the same thing. They only got 24 hours notice. And so that's why we're scheduled tonight. So this is a clear breach of civic respect and egregious repetition of trauma, particularly for Mary Shaw. According to documentation in my possession, the cleanup project affecting the Carriage Hill Homeowners Association in Mary Shaw concerns that she has raised consistently over many years is slated to continue through 2028. This is outlined in a March 28th, 23 letter from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to Mr. David Barney, the BRAC Environmental Coordinator, regarding the 5th 5-year review report for the former Naval Construction Battalion Center in Davisville. In that letter, the responsible party is identified as the U.S. Navy, working with both the EPA and the state of Rhode Island. At the foundation, we track how environmental and technological decisions are made, especially when they involve federal programs, brownfields funding, or dual-use infrastructure. What we see here is a troubling pattern. Site 7A is being treated as a perpetual fallback zone for difficult projects, and we believe this must stop. The public must be fully engaged, or if not after the fact, especially when the harms are well known. Moreover, the communications surrounding this project have been abysmal, so inadequate as to verge on the criminal. And I thank you for your time. I'm from the Foundation for Bioethics and Technology. where progress without principles is catastrophe.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. McIntosh? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else present this evening that wishes to speak in opposition of this? Okay, I would ask the applicants to come back forward. You've heard some concerns raised. Is there anything you'd like to add to address any of the concerns and or questions?
I believe so.
Okay.
So I have a packet of photographs here of parcel 7A. Am I able to distribute that, or what is the process for that?
Well, they won't be entered as exhibits. You can use them to display certain things unless they've been submitted prior.
I'm perfectly happy to just hold them on, if that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. So I appreciate everyone's time, you know, and I had the pleasure of meeting Shaw for the first time at the last meeting, to love the ladies with her. And, you know, we are not here to put people in the hospital. We're not here to kill them. We're here to accomplish our mission of creating commerce within the and the Kiwanis Business Park, as we all know, is a former Navy site, and it was impacted by naval operations. When it was turned over to the state of Rhode Island in the mid-1970s, it was done so in increments. And as parcels in plots of land were deemed to be ready and available to turn over to the state of Rhode Island, they were. So parcel 7A has been long studied by the Navy. There have been dozens of studies enacted on it. There are hundreds of monitoring wells throughout that area of the port that have been monitored and have continued to be monitored by the Navy. And there are dozens and volumes of studies and data associated with this site and others in the business park. There is no effort either on the EPA, DEM, QDC, or Navy side to sweep that under the rug. It's common knowledge to the effect that there are public meetings held regularly, to which Mrs. Shaw has attended in the past, that has both staff from DEM and the Navy online, and they are publicly held with anybody in attendance who would like to join and raise concerns. There's no concerted effort here or big dollar interests to develop this site into anything. I mean, that we don't lobby any of the politicians. We certainly don't have backdoor meetings with the council. We don't have backdoor meetings with DEM. And everything as a part of this project and almost all of our other projects that require permits, we follow the permit regulations. So to that effect, I would like to just state that in accordance with both DEM soil testing parameters and testing schema, as well as the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, were conducted the dredge material on the site. Total of 8 vibrocore samples, where we vibrate a tube into the ground and extract soil to the depth of the dredging. 8 vibrocores were taken, all in accordance with Army Corps and DEM procedures. 15 tests were run on those 8 vibrocores at different heights throughout those samples. And there are 69 constituents tested for in each one of those tests. So just, I would like to just point out that out of that, if you count each constituent test as a single test, there are 735 separate tests run on this material. So we have characterized the material both in grain size and chemically. To my knowledge, it's been found suitable for placement in accordance with the regulations at this site, and it's found suitable for dredging in accordance with CRMC, DEM, and U.S. Army Corps regulations. I want to just describe the site a little bit. I think that Mr. Shaw brought up a lot of interesting points, and I'd like to just maintain that a lot of the things that Mrs. Shaw has brought up is indicative of the level of effort that QDC has gone through to try and address a lot of these concerns. The site, the northernmost limit of this site, is about 350 feet away from Mr. Shaw's backyard. The centroid of the site is 1/10 of a mile away from her property. This is the site. It's a huge gravel area with weeds growing in it. I don't know if anybody or everybody can see that, but you can see that there's a large, about 100-foot tall vegetated buffer. Naturally, there are trees. You guys would like a copy that you're more than welcome to have. That tree line is about 100 feet tall. It's about 300 feet thick. The bike path bisects that tree line. In addition to that, QDC did install a berm because berms are acceptable methods of practice for reducing noise and dust pollution. We installed the berm in front of that natural vegetated buffer. We vegetated the berm with dozens of arborvitaes in hopes that they would grow tall and help minimize dust, noise, and light pollution into Mrs. Shaw's property and the local residences behind her. And we also did construct, to her, to her testimony, we did construct an 8-foot tall stockade fence. I believe that this is over 100 feet long. Along the bike path, in the middle of that natural vegetated buffer, to further try and stymie any noise, air, and light pollution onto her property. All this work was done at QDC's own expense. We've endeavored to try very hard. I think some of the council members we've come before several times in the past. But we tried very hard to work with the communities around us, including the town of North Kingstown. Just want to reiterate Mr. Sherman's earlier staff report that we went in front of the town of North Kingstown Conservation Commission and Harbor Commissions on this project. We received unanimous support at those meetings for a letter of no objection through the town council. And I think that it's remiss to say that there's been no oversight for these activities. Mr. Gagnon can probably testify that we work very closely with DEM on all of our developments in the park. We try very hard to satisfy all of the best management practices, and soils at this particular site and all of the former Navy sites are subject to established soil erosion and sediment control plans that have to be in place and that are approved by DEM and the Navy. We go before the councils and Department of Environmental Management to get all permits for actions that require permits, and we allow those regulatory agencies to conduct their public notices how they see fit. I understand Mrs. Shaw's concerns, and we feel for her and the challenging things that have gone on in her life, including the unfortunate passing of her husband. But after the last meeting, I told her, and I'll tell you as well, we're not in the business of killing anybody, not in the business of making anybody sick. So in our opinion, we've done our due diligence. We've come before you requesting approval of this application before the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We already have approval from, and also the DEM. So 3 separate permit agencies all weighing in on this decision. I want to also, I've been authorized by Steve King, the executive director, to go on public record stating that there is an open offer to buy Mrs. Shaw's property at fair market value. This offer has been extended to Mrs. Shaw twice in the past. The offer still stands, and we would be happy to do that as Quonset Development Corporation, if that should satisfy Mrs. Shaw's concerns. I believe that, I think I've tried to address everything that Mrs. Shaw has brought up. The future development of parcel 7A is left to be determined. We need to get it ready in accordance with our missions to the state. Successfully executed that mission for over 30 years. And in this particular case, we need to get one of the remaining sites in the business park ready for commerce. That's the first and foremost mission of the QDC. We want to do that, within the letter of the law and the regulations set forth for us. Hence why we're here. So I'd be happy to entertain any further questions for the council or satisfy any further inquiries to that effect.
I have a question. What is the capping process?
So, Chair McCoy, the capping process simply is we would import material to go on top of this material, serve as a base for whatever foundation or pavement that we would put down. So that material is typically imported. We also stockpile material Quonset Business Park that we use all the time for that purpose.
If you do not use the fill from the dredging for site 7A, what's the timeline for bringing in fill from outside source?
I currently don't have another source for that volume of material. So that entire site, parcel 7A is a portion of the strip of site that the berm extends along. And it extends, I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with this area of the park, but we have grass fields at one end of the site, and we have natural vegetative buffer at the end. That whole area in between is slated for future development of Thumbkiller. That whole area needs to be leveled and graded, find out level. And if we're not 12,000 cubic yards from the project, I don't have enough. Currently.
I think the report, I'm sorry, Doctor, you.
No.
The application pretty much indicates, but I just want to hear it, that there will be a benefit to the area that's being dredged as well. Am I correct?
So I think that's what gets a little lost in here. I appreciate you bringing that up, Chairman Quaid. Rhode Island Fast Ferry is a public transportation entity. They provide services down Pennsylvania via fast ferries. Currently, they can only use about a third of their basin. They operate out of a fixed pier with a floating barge platform tides. They don't have the water depth of about 2/3 of their basin to utilize any other vessels. And about half of their basin is 4 feet of depth at low tide or shallow. Previously, approximately 8 years ago, I believe, it's also before the council, it's a permit application, they constructed a bulkhead, steel sheet pile bulkhead. In hopes of being able to dredge to -10 feet mean low water in front of it. Currently, it's a beach about 40 feet wide at low water, so there is absolutely no commercial use for that bulkhead for that. So this whole project has been proposed to be able for them to use their entirety of their basin and also berth the bulkhead as what's intended inside of that bulkhead.
So ultimately, there'll be a benefit to the dredging area and a benefit for you to where they place it.
That's correct. Both of those statements are.
Any questions of Mr. Corin or Jones from the council at this point? Yes, Mr. Gagnon.
One kind of clarification and question. So the dredging has to occur late fall, early winter, need to be done by January 31.
Correct.
So do you have an idea of how long it will take to place the material on parcel 7 and level it to that 1 foot layer? See, the faster that can occur, the less dust impacts it.
So our expectation is that because this material is predominantly sand, there is some silt in there which will all be mixed together in terms of when it's dredged. Our expectation is that material is going to dewater relatively quickly, either if not during, very shortly after the dredging window closes. And as soon as it's dewatered, it's eligible for transport by truck through the business park to that parcel. So my expectation is to move that volume of material, probably be complete, assuming it's dewatered within the February timeframe, by late April or May.
It would be able to be placed in that 1 foot layer.
I would say that, yes, if it's dewatered to the extent that we can transport it, our opinion is it's dewatered to the extent we can grade it. And that would all be an ongoing effort. And I would say that, yes, it would all occur sequentially. We could be graded out and done with that portion of the project, by May. That's our expectation. Assuming the material lets us, right? It's all dependent on how quickly it will dewater at the fast ferry site, not on parcel 7A.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Assuming that's done, what's to prevent that now new fill, dewatered fill, from becoming a hazard in terms of dust? What's to keep that in place?
So, Mr. Flynn, I think that there's a few things at play there. The first being is the consistency of the material, it being predominantly sand. When the finer silt material is mixed in during dredging, transportation, load, it's gonna be captured in that sand. If that's not the case, if you have any medial dust at the site, water trucks and a watering system to keep it wet, so it can be stabilized either with a variety of geotextile, seed it in the interim, or go back and cap it, you know, depending on if there's material availability to do that right away. But I do want to point out that the existing parcel 7A, while it appears to be, you know, a nicely mowed lawn, is already gravel and sand. And this material on top is weeds growing in gravel and sand. So it's very, what we're putting on top is very similar to the material that's already there in terms of characterization, grain size.
I've heard testimony that there's a toxic plume that's heading toward Narragansett Bay. Is that an accurate statement? Is that being monitored? Is it being treated?
So that would go back to my earlier statements, that this particular site and many sites in the Quonset Business Park are previously impacted sites that were impacted during the time of the leak. And I think I mentioned that as a part of monitoring that, you know, there is a known plume under this particular site. It's deep, it's above ground, it's above the bedrock, it's captured in the groundwater of this site. This site's a GB listed site, so, you know, cannot use it for drinking water by DEM standards anyways. But yes, there are literally dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of monitoring wells in and around this particular site that have either been monitored in the past or are currently actively being monitored by the US Navy as a part of the transference of this land to the state of Rhode Island.
Is there any treatment of that groundwater?
There are treatment actions that are taking place in or around that particular site. Now, the Army Corps of Engineers has a project to the western edge of this site that is actively injecting chemicals, treating groundwater over there. What effect that has on the plume on this particular site is left to be determined. But as I mentioned earlier, the Navy has deemed that this particular site is ready for conveyance through all of the testing and all of the monitoring and report writing they've done over the past 40 years. Really since 1974 when base was transferred to the state of Rhode Island. So currently we're working through the US Navy on similar sites adjacent to 7A, where we have a lease in furtherance of conveyance. And we're working with the Maritime Administration through the US Navy to get those sites transferred to us as well. So there are different degrees of active remediation and there are different degrees of monitoring. And it depends on what, you know, particular site. This particular site is a monitoring approach.
Thank you.
Any further questions of Mr. Curran or Mr. Jones? Okay.
Can I make a comment? At this point, I don't, in reference to a statement that you said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Okay. I am actually shaking at the comment that you made that twice QDC offered to buy my house. That is so far from the truth. Now, maybe you got misled with it, but that has never been. So I don't know who told you that, and you may believe that, but that has never been. And you, in my mind, didn't answer the question, what is in that home? And has it in fact already a section of it seeped into Narragansett Bay? And if in fact did not, the head of Carol Keating sent a letter of warning to the town of North Kingstown that that plume is not being addressed. It may be monitored, but it's not been mitigated in any way. And there is no knowledge of how to stop that plume with this really toxic material from entering the bay.
I'd like to say something as well. When he made a statement about it's been approved. Mason, I don't know your last name, I'm sorry. Mason Sherman. He said that when his very first statement was, there's testing going on, one of which came back as a problem. And can you tell us what it was that came back as a problem, what the toxin was?
It was benzoate pyrene, it's PCB, could be a byproduct of fuel combustion in the area, I mean, it's a fast ferry area, so, you know, there's a lot of.
All right, and did you ever look up what exactly the health effect is?
Sorry, I'm sorry, before we all keep going, I just want to say that the questions, really, this is kind of, we're allowing additional public comment. But questions, if there are any, should be directed through the chair.
Chair, what he just said was in that test, you look it up. It's exactly what is in him, that must be his lungs. They did a rotox thing, right?
Yeah.
Right?
And it was catastrophic. And even his wife, I don't know about you.
Okay,
His lungs were totally scarred. And even his pulmonary doctor did not know about it causing cancer in his lungs that spread to his brain. So much so that Rhode Island Hospital had 2 top doctors reach out to me to go over the autopsy and warn me that I needed to start monitoring my own pulmonary function.
All right, thank you.
I apologize. May I correct one thing that was stated for the record?
Sure.
Mason, I apologize. You had just mentioned that benzoate pyrene is a PCB. It is a PAH, a polyaromatic hydrocarbon. So I want to just be clear that it's not a PCB. So that it being a record.
Okay.
So again, if anybody has any further questions based on to show us statements, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right. Any further questions to the applicant?
I have no question. So how do you deal with the issue of one element having been discovered through testing already that exceeds the recognized limits that are allowable, even though it only exceeds it by a little bit? How do you respond to that?
So, Mr. Flynn, it's a great question, and it's a subject that you may have heard before, but the solution to pollution is dilution. So out of the 735 tests, that constituent was found in one of them. So while it may be present in that one sample at that one location, once this material is dredged and mixed together, I'd be very hard pressed to believe that we're going to find that exceedance ever again in that material, because that material is all going to be mixed together. Whatever's in it is going to be diluted, you know, and spread out through that material. And I just want to reiterate what Mr. Sherman said earlier, is that one exceedance was one exceedance of a commercial exposure criteria. Whereas if people are working in that material day in and day out, very slightly exceeds that. Whereas we are proposing to cap this material with imported fill or asphalt, whereas no one will be exposed to the material ever again. So, you know, I think that's an important distinction to me.
So you're planning to bring in fill anyway on top of this fill that you want.
That's correct.
And how much of that, as you talked about, this would be around a foot over the whole site?
Yeah, so I don't
additional cover.
I don't know the exact cover. That's going to depend on what's being developed there. But I can tell you whether or not we put a parking lot in or a building, we're going to bring in at least another foot of structural fill material.
In addition to this part?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. And I would just like to make one thing clear for the benefit of the council, is that the impacted Navy site isn't subject to this particular permit approval. That has been a longstanding, you know, issue being dealt with by the Navy and PM for over 30 years. And, you know, whether or not it's moving towards the bay, we don't have anything to indicate that it's entering the bay at this point through the monitoring well data that we have, but it's a completely separate distinct topic from this particular application in front of us today.
One more question, Mr. Chair. Sure. How can there be such a discrepancy? Not that buying Mr. Shaw's property solves all the problems, it might solve her problem. How can there be such a discrepancy between you saying that several offers have been made at fair market value and Mr. Shaw saying that that has never happened? How does this, what are we supposed to think?
I'm not sure, Mr. Flynn. All I know is all I can tell you is what I've been told by my colleagues and executive staff. And all I can tell you now is that I'm here making an offer right now. If whether or not previous offers were made, we're ready and willing to make an offer now.
And who determines fair market value?
The property would be appraised in accordance with regular real estate practice. So if I misspoke or this then misunderstood.
It'll be back before us, I'm sure, right?
If I misspoke or I misunderstood information that was provided to me, I apologize, but I'm here saying it now.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicants? Any further questions from the council to Mr. Sherman in light of all the testimony and comments? Is the council in a posture for a motion, please?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Gagnon.
understanding the issues that are present, but not all of them within our jurisdiction. This is a dredging project with the limited placement of that material on a plot in Quonset. I would move approval of the project based on the staff's recommendation.
And Mr. Gagnon, does that include the staff-specific stipulations as stated in the staff report,
Correct.
in addition to the staff report itself?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
So a second.
Second.
A motion has been made by Mr. Gagnon, seconded by Mr. Russolino. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll poll the council. Dr. Ruder.
Aye.
Mr. Flynn.
Aye.
Mr. Russolino.
Aye.
Mr. Gagnon.
Aye.
Ms. Reynolds.
Aye.
I too vote aye. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your comment. Okay. Next is our public hearing for CRMC proposed rulemaking. Title of the rule, Management Procedures Act, the summary of the rulemaking action. Coastal Resources Management Council has proposed 2 amendments to the Management Procedures Program. 650-RICR-10-00-1.2 parentheses B, meetings and members, and 650-RICR-10-00-1.4.6 parentheses A parentheses 22 CAD cell disposal fee. First one is Management Procedures Program 650-RICR-10-00-1.2 parentheses B, meetings and members. So Rhode Island General Law, sections 4623-2, Coastal Resources Management Council. Appointment of members in Rhode Island General Law, section 46-23-4, officers of the council. Quorum and vote required for action was recently amended by the General Assembly in 2025, parentheses, see Senate Bill 0998, substitute A, and House Bill 6126, substitute A, close parentheses. The amendments to reduce the number of coastal resources management councils from 10 to 7. The amendment at 46-23.4 also reduces the number of members required for a quorum from 6 to 4. The General Assembly requires the CRMC to initiate rulemaking within 30 days of the date of passage. To implement this legislation, section 1.2 parentheses B, close parentheses, meetings and members of the management procedures, parentheses 650-RICR-10.00.1, close parentheses, is proposed to be amended to reduce the quorum requirements of the council from 6 members to 4 members pursuant to section 46-23-2, parentheses B, period. And Bruce, you have this one. Are we doing them separately or collectively?
We can do them collectively if you want, Mr. Chair.
Sure. The next one will be the Management Procedures Program 650-RICR-10.00-1.4, 6A 22 on parentheses 22, CAD cell disposal fee. Rhode Island General Law, section 46-23-18.5, fees for disposal was recently amended per the governor's budget amendment number 22 and Article 2 of the fiscal year 2026 Appropriations Act, which is parentheses 25-H-5076, close parentheses. The amendment to the statute reestablished the minimum fee for disposal of dredge material in the state's confined aquatic disposal, parentheses CAD, cells from $11.65 per cubic yard to $35 per cubic yard. Per the amendment, the council shall maintain its 3-tiered fee structure while increasing all 3 of the CAD cell disposal fees commensurately. And Bruce, you have these.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you,
All
Mr.
right.
Chair. Yeah, I don't need to go through the 2 amendments because you just outlined them, but I did want to just mention that we initiated rulemaking through a public notice of proposed rulemaking on August 5th. That notice goes through September 30th, so we are accepting written comments up until September 30th, but this is the public hearing to provide opportunity for the public to provide in-person comments on the proposed rules. The other thing I just want to mention is that we received a few comments already in writing, and we may receive more tonight. And we are going to review all of them at the end of the public comment period and evaluate them. And any modifications to the rule will be presented to the council in a final proposal later in October and November. So there's no action required of the council tonight, just public comments.
All right, any questions of Bruce from the council before I open the floor for public comment? Seeing none, the floor is now open for public comment. Public hearing. Public hearing. And it's you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Jed Thorpe, that's JEDTHORP. I'm the Director of Advocacy at Save the Bay. Appreciate the opportunity to provide some comments tonight. Our primary concern regarding the proposed rule is simply one of timing and seek confirmation.
Can I stop you 1 sec? Which rule?
Oh, this is.
Because it's 2. Okay.
Quick to clarify. Our primary concern is simply regarding the timing of when this rule will take effect and to seek confirmation. This change does not take effect until the new council is seated. Now, the language in the proposed rule is pretty simple. It's only 1 sentence long. It does not specifically state that the change does not take effect until the new council is seated, which would be March of next year or sometime thereafter. But the proposed rule does state that, quote, a quorum shall consist of 4 members pursuant to section 46-23-4. That section of the statute now reads, and I quote, a quorum shall consist of 6 members of the council, provided, however, for the council appointed pursuant to section 46-23-2B, the quorum shall consist of 4 members of the council. So in other words, the quorum is still 6 in the statute, except for and only for the council appointed pursuant to subsection 46-23-2B, which again is the new council that will be seated as soon as next March, when all of the current members of the council's terms are set to expire. Although to be clear, the new law also states that current or past service on the council shall not disqualify an individual from reappointment to the new council. So some of you, if you meet the qualifications and choose to do so, may be appointed to the new council when that time comes. Now, if the new 7-member council isn't seated by March 1st of 2026, the members appointed pursuant to the current council requirements, meaning you all, quote, shall continue to serve until such time as all members are appointed and confirmed in accordance with this section. And I emphasize the word all there because we read this to mean that the current council will remain in place until all 7 members are appointed by the General Assembly. This means that if the General Assembly, say, confirms 4 appointees by March 1st of next year, those 4 or 5 or even 6 new appointees do not actually become council members or start meeting or making decisions until all, meaning all 7 of the new council members are appointed pursuant to the new subsection added by the General Assembly. Even if, for example, there are 4 members of the current council who meet the qualifications, say you get appointed to the new council, those 4 new members could not start meeting with a quorum of just 4 until all members of the council appointed pursuant to the new section are appointed and confirmed. That, thank you for your time and happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, what's the fix?
The fix?
The fix. Wouldn't it have to be through the General Assembly?
Well, I mean, regarding the fix for the proposed rule you're asking, I think that the rule as written is adequate. Because the rule says pursuant to subsection 46-23-4. And again, when you look at that section in the now statute, it references the new council appointed pursuant to 46-23-2B. So we believe that the language in the statute, which the proposed rule references, is clear. But it's a new law and, you know, we're all, I think, getting used to this new normal or what will soon be the new normal. So we just wanted to state on the record tonight that this change does not actually take effect until the new council is seated.
And the new council would have to be in conformance with the qualifications that the General Assembly passed for membership.
Correct.
And as I understand it, I don't know if any of the members of this council meet those standards.
That would be up to the.
Except for perhaps Mr. Gay.
Yeah.
I don't. So.
Well, it depends how, I guess, how the General Assembly interprets the statute and the phrase must possess background, experience, and qualifications in environmental and coastal matters. Now, some of you, by virtue of your service on the council, may be deemed to meet that threshold, but that will ultimately be up to the Environment Committee and the General Assembly, which makes those appointments.
Any other questions? Thank you much.
Right, thank you.
Time to close the public hearing?
Yes, close the public.
All right. I will now close the public hearing on the proposed rule changes or the rule making. Brings us to our final agenda. If there's nothing else that come before us, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made, seconded, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed, motion carries. Adjourn. Thank you, everyone.